Alright, welcome back. It's your boy Big Edge Go the Great, man. We're gonna react to this video. It's 2 months old. I seen clips of it before. It's about Black American culture and whatever. Well, hold on, let me see what they're talking about. Whatever they talking about, Black American, the diaspora, whatever type shit. We're gonna react to it. We're gonna watch it. It's your boy Big Edge Go the Great. We're gonna see what you're talking about. I'm a Black American, as y'all can tell, but you know what I'm talking about. You feel me? So we're gonna see what they're talking about.
Written about. They took our language away. So Asia, Europe, Africa, and so now a episode, that got everybody on my case. It's the audience.
Yeah.
So
Right.
It's interesting. People say, "Oh, you're from Benin," and I'll say yes. And they say, "What's Benin culture like?" And then I freeze, because there's nothing like a Benin culture. Or if you're from Ghana, or if you're from Nigeria, Sierra Leone, Liberia, there is no such thing. But if you say, "Oh, you are Yoruba," I said, "Yes." What is Yoruba culture like? Then he or she is able to start to talk about it. So there are similarities which I'm going to really explain, and you can see it. So I'm first going to ask. He's been on my show. He's seen my. I do not put together that show, which I fund from my own pocket, because I just want to say things to make people angry. No, it's because I really care. And sometimes I get frustrated about what I have seen from the continent where I come from, and what I see here about my great-great-great-grandfathers, uncles, sisters who were taken away. So African Americans would say, "Well, you're not one like." Yes, I know, but I'm walking past my cousin, my nieces every day. So what is in my head is what is in their head. And what I'm explaining is something that they must listen to when I say there is no such thing as African American culture. They're like, "What do you mean?" But culture for me is not dance, food, clothing. Those are not cultures.
We got
culture. It's a worldview. The worldview is what drives people. Their relationship to wealth, to money, to community, to marriage, to family.
We got all
it's
that
the worldview they have. That's the foundation of a culture. And number two, there is no possibility for you to have a culture without having a language. So if you read most of the books written by brilliant African Americans, the first thing you see, the headline is, the traumatic thing about slavery is not merely changing your environment. The traumatic thing about slavery is not merely asking you to work long hours. The Russians had hard labor camps in Siberia. Many countries, Japanese had it, where people work and they die. The traumatic thing about slavery is one thing only, which everyone has written about. They took our language away. They took our culture away. They took our history and religion away.
The whole thing.
That is a traumatic thing about being a slave. Now, if they took those things away, how and when were they recovered? So I met a gentleman. I was attending a conference in Singapore, and I met this gentleman who was a Korean sociologist. So we started talking during coffee, and I said, "Oh, I lived in Korea for 2 years when I was reporting." And he said, "Oh, wow." And then we started talking. I don't remember how the conversation came about when he asked me. He said, "So your country was colonized?" I said, "Yes." And my country, his country, Korea, was colonized by the Japanese for 49 years. And he said, "What did you guys," meaning referring to people in Benin, "what did you lose as a result of colonization?" And I froze and I said, "Whoa, nobody has ever asked me that question." So I said, "Prof, you tell me, and that will give me some idea." And he said, "No, we're Koreans, we're colonized by the Japanese. So when they left, all we lost was time. We just went back being Koreans." And from that day, I could tell clearly, what did we lose as a result of colonization in Africa? What did you lose as a result of slavery? If you don't fix that which you lost, you're not going to make any way forward. So in Africa, the countries that exist today were never there. They force a group of tribes that have their own distinct cultures to become a country. So they've lost their distinct cultures, trying to have a culture as a collective, which is never going to happen. So for me, first and foremost, when I talk about culture, I'm talking about a worldview, meaning the collective have to have one reason they are here on earth. And that thing is what drives them. It's what makes them wage wars, conquer people, anything. You ask anybody, in 1884, it was the Irish journalist who finally found a word to describe the English man, which he called the manifest destiny. That exceptionalism of the Englishmen, now you call them Americans. The American exceptionalism is the American culture, that they believe that God put them on this earth to colonize and civilize others. And that's what drives them to go out there and try to give freedom and fight for freedom and do all the things they do. Now, good or bad, I'm not giving any value. You ask the Japanese, he will tell you their worldview. So their dance and food, and no, those are not. I came from a place where, as a young boy, I was given a worldview, and it guided me everywhere I went. So when you meet me outside my culture, you can tell from my behavior, he must come from a culture that believes in XYZ. So a culture becomes more pronounced when you are outside the group. As an individual, outside your group, people must be able to
Everybody can tell you a Black
Dave,
American.
what is your rebuttal to that?
It's not so much a rebuttal, it's a difference in philosophy, right?
Mm.
It is, and I think we got to thank Frank for even coming here, because I know for some people this would be very adversarial. Frank and I, we talk all the time. We're very, very good folk. And there's a couple of things that I got to push back on simply because they were not available to us. See, when Frank was born, he inherited a culture. We had to make one with what we had.
Exactly.
Some of us, if you take any, if I were to swab any one of you, you would find some Nigerian, you would find some Ghanaian. Like, we had to hodgepodge, not to mention out of all of the places that Black people were forced into when we were slaves, 3% came to what we now consider the United States of America. And then we were bred over time. We were buck broken over time. They would take our women and grape them out of respect for your channel. You know what I'm saying? Drop the G. And then on top of that, they had a split breast system. And the split breast system means that one breast would feed the white children of the slave master, and the other one would feed the Black children that were going to be bought off and sold. We also have a situation where we had to face things that no other Black person on the continent had to face. You know, taking our children and feeding them to alligators, lynching, Jim Crow, all of those things. And when you look at it, whether we choose to acknowledge it or not, the pulse of America runs through foundational Black Americans. Who was the first person to die in the Revolutionary War? Crispus Attucks, Black man, foundational Black American, right? Harriet Tubman made the Underground Railroad and stopped it in Philadelphia. There are all of these things that have happened that make it who we are. Now, as a person who was the first Black youth president of an organization called the National Conference of Christians and Jews, to Frank's point, I do agree, you don't really see your culture until you're out of it. So I'm a raisin and buttermilk in a conversation where there's a bunch of white Christians and a bunch of Jewish people, and they're like, hey, we do this. I'm like, no, Black people don't do that. You know what I'm saying? From the way we walk, the way we talk, the way we eat, the way we move. Not to mention, you can't go anywhere on this earth without seeing our influence. The problem is, unlike any other Black culture on the face of the planet, we have been colonized and monetized for profit by everyone, including the Koreans. K-pop ain't nothing but R&B. Let's call it what it is. And it's R&B under duress, because if you look at what happened with Megan Thee Stallion when she was dealing with those K-pop girls, she was like, oh, it's serious up in here. Because if they miss a step, they get what Joe Jackson gave Mike and them, but worse. There are all of these things that take place that no one wants to talk about. So no, we don't have a language because we weren't allowed to speak our language under penalty of death. When you talk about you can't come to the cookout and things of that nature, people forget. Picnic is an abbreviated slang term, which means you get the picnic to lynch. Postcards came from pictures that they used to take the back of and mail for people who couldn't see the lynching that they had. All of these things we survived. And the funny thing is, everyone's coming over here and benefiting from the fact that we put out the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. All of those things that started as the Black liberation movement, but then got shoehorned into civil rights because everybody wants to come off of our pain, is still a part of who we are. American culture is Black culture. The problem is, not only did we have to create it, but everybody else got to monetize it. We don't own major forms of media. So the message that goes out to the world about foundational Black Americans is very lopsided. It's very negative. Even Frank said to Nancy, he said, well, what is your culture? Twerking? Negating the fact that twerking started in Africa. Mating rituals, things of that nature, tying of the hip, stop me when I go wrong. All of these things get put out as if that's who we are. And it's a very limited, very narrow-minded, very sore and very disingenuous snapshot of who we are, because we get put into killers, baby mamas, this and that and the other. And then when you look at how the media is weaponized, right? They'll take people throughout the diaspora and then put them on platforms and then bring them here. I'll give you an example. There's a show on CBS called Bob Hart's Abishola. And she said things that were much more incendiary than what Frank said. You know, oh, what is it? Gangbangers and baby mamas?
Crazy.
No. That energy is designed to keep us a certain way. And then when you talk about how the entertainment is weaponized, because that's the message, that's our largest export. It always has been.
I ain't gonna lie. I know you're talking about it be people that be like from the Caribbeans or Africans that be in politics or anything. They got nothing to do with American slavery. We talking about we don't need this, we don't need this, we don't need that, cosplaying as a Black American. That is true. That is true.
Our talent and our ability to entertain, but not capitalize on said entertainment. You can't point to one major Black-owned record company. You can't point to one major Black-owned media outlet. You can't point to one major media or technological distribution center that is controlled, owned, and managed by foundational Black Americans. And so the message of foundational Black Americans that gets out is not our message. And I completely reject that. If that's what you think the culture is,
that had systems. Oh shit. That had systems for us cannot build nothing. And for we not the prosperous, but we can still keep building and keep creating. I ain't gonna lie, like we could build shit now type shit. I don't know. I think that's the crazy thing about us, because even now we think we can still keep building and keep creating and shit. But I don't think we could. That shit ain't stopping shit. We can still make shit. You know what I'm saying? Even in today's time.
I am here to tell you that ain't my culture. It ain't never been my culture. It ain't been the culture of most of my brethren. Do we have some knuckleheads? Absolutely. Of course we do. But do we also have things like COINTELPRO we've still had to overcome? Do we have things like the 94 Biden-Clinton crime bill that we've had to overcome? And throughout history, I have yet to see anybody from any of those 54 countries come back for their brothers that they say that they love so much. I don't remember the warships coming to get us. I don't. But what I do see is, oh, well, we're really good at educating. We take the opportunities and we're able to, go and take these American opportunities that you guys squander. Yeah, because you get an immigrant experience. You do not get the foundational Black American experience.
True. I ain't gonna lie, that is true. If you come as an immigrant, you label yourself as an immigrant on all the paperwork. You sound like an immigrant. It's different from saying you a Black American, because they can know the voice, they know the accent, they know the history. So it is different though. It is different though.
Experience. You get the same immigrant talk that the Russians get, and the Russians got a lot of nerve because if it wasn't for Alexander Pushkin, they'd still be speaking French. Alexander Pushkin created the Russian language. He was a Black man. So when you talk about where we are and where we've been, you also have to talk about the mind screw, out of respect for your channel, that we have been put under. So no, we don't have an official language because we weren't allowed to have one. But still, if you
got an official language, it's called AAVE. It's called Ebonics, bro. Everybody know how Black people talk. We got a dialect of English. Everybody know how Black people sound and talk. Everybody know that. Everybody know how a Black person sound and talk. It's just everybody know that. You got a certain dialect of English. Everybody understand it. Everybody know what it sound like. So we do got a accent.
look at AAVE, it's
You do
everywhere.
got
And
accent
when
and
it comes
language.
out of our mouth, it goes from the hood to the
You
boardroom
got
to a
the
building.
American. You got the people in UK speak English, but they got a British accent. You got the American version of English, American Standard version of English. You got the Ebonic version of English. Jamaican speak a version of English, a dialect of English. Like it's just, you know what I'm saying. It's just normal shit. It's just normal shit. You know what I'm saying. We do speak. We got a certain way of speaking. We got a dialect of English. Like, you know, it's just like everybody else. Like it's just normal shit.
Billboard on Broadway or in Times Square. So we have culture, we have influence, and no, I'm not just talking about taking what's the word I'm looking for? Weeds and turning them into collard greens, or taking innards and turning them into chitterlings. I'm talking about the fact that we have persevered and we are the most copied individuals on the planet.
Mhm.
So
That is true. Everybody know what black culture is. Everybody know how to look like a black person, talk like a black person, act like a black. That is true. That is true. You know what I'm saying? We is very global as a culture.
much so, if I'm wrong, please explain Akon to me. Please explain Burna Boy to me. They all do a variation of who we are. And I'm not just talking about music. I'm talking about the walk. I'm talking about the talk. I'm talking about the hairstyles. I'm talking about the innovation. Everything we do. We took a construction worker's boot and made it the hottest item for the past 40 years. Because everybody finds a way to profit off of what we create and then demonize us for creating it and then label us criminals.
Hey, the hoes is popular because niggas in New York. Hey, he ain't lying. That is a construction working boot. You know, the whole is popular because niggas in New York. Because
Those uneducated, unwilling, we don't care, but they don't talk about all the systemic things that have been set up and profited by people who want to keep us in a certain box. That doesn't mean we can't escape that box, but to act like we were not put under duress for what we had to put together as a culture when everybody else got to inherit it, and that includes Haitians, Jamaicans, everybody else got to be left alone so that they could develop. We didn't have that.
Even Haitians and Jamaicans, they was a part of the slave trade. They had to somewhat create their own shit in the way they do too, because it was, you know what I'm saying, they had to someone create their shit too. It was like, bro, they just say they on the same time we on in a way.
To this day, I have yet to meet one African, one Jamaican, one Caribbean, one black person anywhere who comes into this country and has automatically ingrained in them before they start going, my country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing, that they're afraid when the red and blue lights come on behind them when they're pulled over. And I get it, and I'm the son, brother, and nephew of cops. That's why I say, yes, we have a culture, but of course we don't have a language. But let's not be disingenuous and act like it doesn't matter, because it does. Because as foundational Black American goes,
we got a dialect. We probably ain't got a language. We got a dialect though. We got a dialect of English. Everybody know how black people talk. You know what I'm talking about? Like, look how I just said that. You feel me?
So goes everybody else in society.
So Frank, let me ask you a question. If slavery erased our Black Americans' culture, what do you call what we built after slavery? What do you call that?
Well, you have to give me an example of what you mean by what we build. What are you referring
to? I got a question. Do he know Black American history or don't? Because that alone says a lot. If you know the history of Black Americans, and I ain't talking about the basic shit, I'm talking about the detailed history. I mean, people obviously don't know the detailed history, but if you know the history of Black Americans, you 100% obviously know they got a culture. If you look at you could look at a Black American and say, okay, that's a Black American. Everybody know the culture of Black people, so it's a crazy topic.
You tied culture back to African and something that you inherit, but you said that got erased during slavery. But we built something. Clearly, Black Americans have built throughout slavery and the culture that we have currently.
What I'm asking is, give me an example so I'll be able to respond to that particular thing.
Well, like things like gospel is something that we built after slavery.
Songs and music,
the foods that we eat.
You telling me songs and music is not culture and dancing in Africa? Are you serious right now? Like, hey. You telling me as you say you was born in Benin, you are real African. You telling me song, dancing, and music is not culture? Are you seriously telling me that as a real African gang? Like, but sit back and think for a quick second. Hey, you can go watch Speed live stream in Africa. It's beautiful and over there in Africa. But you telling me y'all dancing and music and songs is not culture over there? Are you serious right now? All right, well, I will let them explain.
Songs and music exist in every society.
Is that not a part of culture?
No.
You telling me Japanese music, songs, and culture, dancing is not part of they when they dance with the dragons and they got the songs and they you telling me that's not Japanese culture, folks? You telling me Hispanics when they playing their music, you telling me that's not their culture, bro? You telling me this? Are you seriously telling me this? You telling me the Europeans got their dance moves and shit? That's not their culture? Are you serious?
Let me come to that. And first, let me make a little response to David's assertion that we were not allowed. So, in Benin or Ghana or Nigeria, you pick any of the 54 countries in Africa, right? If you had gone into a Yoruba tribe, which is now part of Nigeria, they would speak Yoruba. Now,
did you tell me the Yoruba tribe got no dances, no music, and what else she said? Dancing, music, and dancing, music, and what the fuck he said? You tell me they don't got that shit. That's not their culture. They don't dance and have certain type of songs they make. What? You crazy?
When we were put together forcefully as countries, today my nieces and nephews can't even speak my language properly. And the French and English, they can't even speak it properly. Because in one classroom, you have 36 kids who come.
That mean they a culture absorbed into something different, gang. If they can't speak your native language, that mean they speak a different language. They culture, culture just involved. It's just, what are you talking about? What the man talking about?
From different tribes in that classroom. So they can only use English or French or Spanish or Portuguese to teach this myriad of tribes now who don't speak their language anymore. African Americans were not prevented from speaking their language. When the ship arrived, it was one from this tribe, that tribe, that tribe, that tribe. So automatically you can speak to each other. And when you don't speak your language for a while, like I've been outside Africa now, going 40 years. If I meet any of my uncles and I start to try to speak my language, I'm interfered by English constantly, and I can't finish it. I can't make a coherent sentence in my own language because at school, you could not.
So you don't got a culture since you can't speak your Yoruba language? So you telling me based off your example, you don't got a culture because you can't speak your own language? Man, stop that shit, man.
Use that language because we are now a bucket of different languages. The same thing happened here. You were brought as a shipload of different languages. That is why Creole and Patois were created. So you use the only word you can understand, a little bit of the colonizer or whoever is controlling you, and try to speak to someone who comes from Senegal. You don't know what he speaks. So over time, it becomes this hodgepodge of a language called Creole or Patois. In Sierra Leone, they have it. In Liberia, they have it. In Nigeria, they have the Pidgin English because they can't speak to each other. So nobody prevented you. All you need is not to use your language because there is no one there to speak to.
It was a slave language. Let me look at it real quick. That they use, I think it was something. My ancestors. Hold on, let me look at it real quick. Let me see, man. Whatever, God, nigga, he talking.
And the next generation, it's gone.
Fine.
The Jews, however, it was Jews. They took them as Jews. Even though they went from country to country to country, they were lucky enough to keep talking to each other because they can understand each other. So they were able to retain the language. This is my starting point. It happened to us on the continent.
But nigga, they didn't have 400 years of going through what they went through, though. They only have, it's sad, but nigga, they only had like what? 6 years, 5 years, nigga. We had like what? 300-400 years? What the hell? That's a big difference.
So don't be fooled. You hear countries like Nigeria, Ghana. If you ask 5 Ghanaians, one from the Ashanti, one from the Ewe, the Ga, the Akwamu, and the northern region, and ask them, are you Ghanaians? Yes, we are Ghanaians. Look at our passport. Ask them, what is Ghanaian culture? And they'll start looking at each other. There is no such thing. Ask them, what do you speak in Ghana? They'll start looking at each other. Ask them, what is the Ghanaian sense of value? There's no such thing. How do you guys marry in Ghana? There is no such thing. But you say you're Ghanaians. So what happened to us happened here. And when I arrived here, I understood it. When I went to Haiti, I was like, whoa. When I went to Jamaica, the same thing. So when I said, I was only speaking here, so I said Africa.
What you saying? No black people got culture or some shit? What are you trying to say? Because we got some different languages? What the fuck? Hold on, talking about
In Americans, I would have said the same thing about my own countries in the continent. We have no culture.
Yeah, but from that video, what I got from it is you put Haitians on a pedestal.
I didn't. No, let me correct you.
When in comparison to Black Americans, you said Haitians, they have a culture. Like you said that out your mouth.
Haitians had to create a culture. They was enslaved. They had sugar cane. They had enslaved in Haiti. They had fought for freedom. It was different tribes and different mixed people all mixed in Haiti. They had to create something. It was different. What are you talking about? Every even Jamaicans. We all had to create something.
So it was a long video about Haiti.
Mm-hmm.
And during that conversation, I began to talk about why Haitians can fix Haiti. Because you don't have Haitians. You have just a country forcefully imposed upon you a citizenship, but you are from different places in Africa. But right now, if you go somewhere, you would speak Creole. And somebody would say, oh, that is Haitian. That's what I meant. Not putting them on any pedestal.
So they have a language.
They created one.
So you want to say,
and it's not even useful.
Nigga, everybody created one.
Useful in any way because it's not an international language.
So they took French and made Creole, right? Is what you're saying.
Spanish, French, and then over 200 African tribal languages into one.
But Americans would say that they took English and made their own language as well.
And what is that?
I mean, it's a broken version of English, but it's still something that we could speak to.
It's a dialect of English. Look it up. It's called AAVE. It's called Ebonics. It's a dialect of English, not a broken version. If millions of people speak it and understand each other, ain't no such thing as a broken language or a broken version of something. No, it's a dialect of something different. If millions of people speak a certain way in a certain language, niggas, nothing's broken. It's just a dialect we just don't understand. They all speak, they all understand each other. If you got like a small groups of people that speak a certain way, you say, okay, then they speak a broken version of our language. If you got like a couple thousand people that speak a certain way, or they speak a broken version of English, that makes sense. Versus you got 50 million people that speak a certain way, nigga, they got to speak their own dialect of our shit. At that point, nigga, it's a big difference.
What language is that?
I mean, it's English.
He's talking about AAVE, African American Vernacular English.
Yes.
The same way, for example,
I think I've heard. Yes, when I came to this country in 1994, I had a debate on my campus about.
So you tell me, as an African coming to America, the way Black Americans speak and the way white Americans speak, you couldn't tell the difference. You couldn't tell the difference. That's the average Black and the average white. You couldn't tell the difference on a dialect of English they're speaking. you're lying. That shit crazy.
Right.
Nah.
Same thing.
Everybody can see
And
that.
somebody corrected me. I think it was my professor said, no, if you say Ebonics, there is no one collective Ebonics.
Correct.
You have to go into pockets. If the person is from the north, the south, the central, they created their own style around it. So I understand that part. That didn't even qualify as a subculture. So let me give you, Jamaicans don't have a culture. When you say the country Jamaica, no,
This nigga said Jamaicans don't got a culture. Are you serious? He just playing. You said, man, hell, Jamaicans, nigga? Everybody know how Jamaican act.
that's not identifiable as a culture. But the Rastafarians have a culture. Now, let me explain what I mean
That
by
is the
worldview.
culture of
The
Jamaica.
Rastafarians' worldview is that men were put on earth to take care of nature. Okay? That wealth, you have to create more than consume. So they live a frugal life. So politically, they are pacifists. They will never go to war. Socially, they are communal and what we call Epicurean. They believe getting high, eat some food, and have deep conversation is what life is about. And then religiously, they are Rastafarians. Hippies are the Western version of a Rastafarians. They also had a worldview, and that dictated their relationship with wealth.
He just said hippies is a culture, but not Black Americans. That shit crazy.
The hippies believe that humans were put on earth to create and consume, and that living in community and being frugal as to
Black
wearing the
Americans,
most inexpensive clothing and using things together is what life is all about. So it guided how you see them dress, where they shop from, why they marry, on and on and on. That's what I mean by any society. If you want to understand them, it's the worldview. The Jews believe that they were put on earth as God's chosen people. That through them, that is a worldview. Now, any child told that, forget hurting one of them.
The three major religions is Jewish. No, it's not Jewish. It's that Buddhist, Christianity, Muslim, some shit like that. But Jewish people, that's religion, culture. Everybody got a culture, nigga. What the fuck going on?
Because they are driven by that. That is why they insist on having a community wherever they are.
It's not one person culture.
The Chinese.
You act the same way. You is the same way, nigga. You
the white community.
You got some type of culture. Or if you
Do
don't got a
Africans that come
culture,
from-
you the only one to act like that, nigga. You creating your own goddamn culture as an individual. Everybody act like something, or if not as they self. Nigga, it's a
from the continent have a community. We don't. Why? Because we don't have a culture.
That shit crazy.
If we had, it would drive us to have a community. In the 50 states of the United States of America, African Americans don't have a community. They have neighborhoods. Now, people who got angry with me didn't even ask me.
Neighborhoods, we got neighborhoods and not a community. All right, man.
What does culture do anyway? What is it that I say you didn't have, that it makes you what? Nobody asked that question. What is that thing you're trying to hold on called culture, by the way?
Culture is the shit. If you do your history on Black American history, I ain't the best qualified nigga for this conversation. My bad. I'm sorry to everybody watching this shit. But if you do your history on Black American, we got a deep, detailed culture that is on like. And what you got hip hop, we got R&B, our dance moves, hit them folks. The way we talk, we got our own different. We all speak Ebonics, and we got different slangs depending on what part of the country you from. We got a cookouts. We got everybody do the same shit in the neighborhood. Everybody, you can post some shit. Oh, growing up, I remember this, and everybody, all Black people say, "Hey, y'all remember that?" Ooh, combing hair, you sitting between your sister legs, your mama legs, braiding your shit. You going to get your haircut, getting your whole hair gets chopped off, and your ass just bald headed throughout the whole elementary. Your ass, man, what are you talking about? Man, it's so much stuff, bro. Man, it's a lot.
What is it?
You care to elaborate on that then? Now?
No, I'm asking. Once upon a time, John Lennon sang a song. Imagine we don't have religion. Imagine a world without religion, without heaven and hell. He believed in what? The brotherhood of mankind.
Sure.
So imagine the people without a culture. Maybe they are striving to a brotherhood of mankind. So you take words out of context and then you crucify a man,
Right.
not knowing that I am a victim of a cultureless country.
You know, that's sometimes the risk.
I think we get angry too quickly.
Mhm.
We're too sensitive. I was giving a talk, live talk the other day, and a gentleman, not the way David is behaving, he wrote the book and he said, my brother Frank, he doesn't know what this means to me. He called me on the phone and spoke with me. And we became friends, like on the phone. And I said, I gotta go. Even if it's 3 hours drive, if I have to fly, I'm going to see this gentleman. Because more than this conversation, there is someone here who really is a thinker. But we got to begin to tame down and accept criticism, because that is the only way societies were built in this world. In my live talk, I told this gentleman when he wouldn't get off my case, and I said, let me tell you something. You don't hate the white man. You don't even fear them. Because if black people hate and fear the white man the way they hate and fear each other, you would all have left this country at the end of slavery.
Left this country and go where?
Go where?
Yeah.
Where did the Jews go to? You know how many lands in Africa was offered to African Americans through the Black Star Line project?
Listen, when the white people came to America, it was native people already here. They enslaved some native people, threw them in the fields. They brought Africa from the ships and threw them in the fields. They both called them the N-word. They all the N-word. They all worked the fields. That's how you got native black Americans and some from Africa, bro. So it's now not everybody gonna want to leave. Not only that, the ones that came on ships, nigga, the Muslims that said, nigga, we already here. What the fuck we finna go? We've been here for so fucking long. Anyway, been so much pain. We bonded so much. Like, what the hell down? We here. So that's why people stay. What the fuck? We real. We don't know nothing in Africa. Well, our ancestors would have gone. We've been here for this damn long. We built shit already. We already fought for things for us to have a better life already. Nigga, hell nah. What the fuck? We finna go somewhere and do what? Not only that, half of us is native to this land too. We only know this land, so why would we leave this land? That's why motherfuckers didn't go to Africa. Or probably a reason why. I don't know.
It was funded by
my little mind. Probably a reason why. Everything is a reason why. I don't know.
It's through Marcus Garvey and Kwame Nkrumah, the Black Star Line. Did you go? No. How did you get the Amerigo Liberia culture moved back? 3,400 people only agreed to go to Liberia. What do you mean where to? Plenty of land everywhere. Where did you come back from? How about the Caribbean?
See, that in and of itself.
But I'm not saying it.
No.
I said,
No, y'all gotta explain this shit to the nigga. What the fuck y'all just sitting there? Y'all better talk to that man. You feel me? You ain't gotta be barking at the man. Hell no, we just having a conversation, but you can't just keep the man just running on talking. Explain things back to the man in detail. Well, like we know our history. What the fuck? We know the possibilities of our history.
Hold on, Frank.
I'm not.
Let me get the day real quick. Yeah.
No. See, the thing of it is, and you gotta understand, right? Like my favorite verse in the Bible is Proverbs 4:7. It says, "In all thy getting, get an understanding." You gotta understand Frank's perspective. In his mind, it's like, well, shoot, why didn't you go? To me, that's no different than when Kanye sat in front of Harvey Levin and the light-skinned boy, never call his name, and said, you know, well, shoot, for 400 years, that's slavery. It sounds like a choice. Like, no, it's not just that, right? It's bigger than that, because
it sounded like a choice, but it wasn't a choice. We fought back, and they didn't teach us the slave revolts that was going on. You really think we just sat there for 400 years? It was slave revolts and slave fighting back too throughout the 400 years. So that's what, like, it sounded like a choice. It in the way it was, but we kept fighting back. So it's the choice that we kept fighting back. So in a way, it was a choice, but nigga, we just chose to keep fighting back. But we just kept, we was in bondage, but we kept pushing though, and we never gave up to this very day. In a way, you know what I'm saying? That's how I'm looking at it. You feel me?
But no one talks about is the psyop that was done to us from 1619 through 1865, and then after 1865 all the way through, right? So if you have been told over and over and over and over and over again that you're less than, that you ain't nothing, that you don't even get the right to call yourself a name, there are certain things that get lost in translation because he does not carry that particular experience. He's got his own experiences, and one of the things that I love, and I encourage absolutely everybody to go to this man's YouTube channel, because when he talks about black on black crime, he does not start and stop the conversation at foundational Black Americans. He talks about what's happening in Nigeria. He talks about what's happening in Liberia. He talks about what's happening in Ghana. And that is something that's happened throughout
Talk about the culture thing he's talking about, man.
the diaspora. And the one thing we all have in common is that we were colonized and psyoped, but none more brutally than us. So if you think, for example, there have been writings from Frederick Douglass, there were writings from Harriet Tubman, there have been plenty of people who have talked about how many people did not want to leave the plantation because it was all they knew, and they were scared, almost to a point where they had Stockholm syndrome. The idea of going.
Some did want to leave and some did love. That's how we live. That's how we start building our towns, man. Come on, man. Some ancestors stayed and some love. Because some were scared of the unknown. They say they want to go out there. They said, man, we want to stay here, keep, figure it out right here. Let's stay at the PlayStation. Let's figure it out while we still figure it out here. And some like, nah, bro, we out. We going to go out there. Let's figure it out. And we're like, okay. And some left and some stayed. Bro, not everybody stayed on the PlayStation game. On folks.
Going back to a place they'd never been or had any historical reference to because it had been beaten, threatened, hung, stabbed.
Some was like, if we leave, they just go hunt us down and kill us. So some of us like, bro, I'm not even gonna even try. Because when we leave, they may hunt us down and just kill us anyway. So I'm just gonna stay. And some was like, I already gotta be around the white people. Some thought like that too. It was multiple different reasons people stayed, bro. You feel me? There was multiple people, different reasons people left. People left like, I don't care. I'm leaving. I'm leaving. I'm gonna figure it out. I ain't scared. I'm gonna fight back. I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna go this way. I'm gonna do this. You know what I'm saying? It was multiple reasons people left too. Or some was like, I'm scared to be here. I don't want to be here. I just want to be out there. So I'm gonna just leave because I'm just scared to be here. There was multiple reasons people left too. It wasn't just no universal reason. There's never a universal reason. It's fucking human beings, nigga. It's not a universal reason everybody live in your neighborhood, but it's everybody got a personal reason why they moved there. That's like, come on, man.
Lynched out of them. Yeah. No, I ain't going back there. Why would I? Now, me personally, I know plenty of people who have repatriated. Right. And I know plenty of people who love it. I know plenty of people who get called all types of akatas and every daggone thing else over there. I also understand that there's a caste system over there. There are people, I don't want to stop. There have been times when I have been called over there mixed because of the texture of my hair or the fairness of my skin or the narrowness of my nose. Because whether we like to admit it or not, when it comes to a foundational Black.
A lot of us is mixed. A lot of us is mixed with African and Native American and European. A lot of us is mixed. And so a lot of us is just more and more African than next, and more just Native than next. That's why you got some. That's why we look so different and so unique all the time. And so all of us is mixed. Technically, yes, it is mixed. A lot of us is mixed. We got African and Native American, and we got European in our blood. A lot of us got that. Over 400 years, yes, a lot of it is mixed.
Black American line, you can always find, if you go up farther enough, somebody who played Master got loose in the slave quarters, right? Or as they like to say, Black Buck got loose in the big house, but it wasn't us getting loose in the big house. You understand what I'm saying? So there's all these things. And to the John Lennon point, that's ironic, and I will tell you why. John Lennon was a part of the Beatles. The Beatles invasion came about because the Beatles were the very first Backstreet Boys. The Beatles were doing what Ike Turner was doing, what Jimi Hendrix was doing, what Little Richard was doing, what all these foundational Black Americans were doing, but because they were palatable. And they told you themselves that they were singing Black music no different than Elvis. So yeah, it's real easy to say, imagine when you're a European, rich, white man with an Asian wife who has more money than he knows what to do with, who had the unmitigated gall to say he was bigger than Christ himself, and not get canceled. Yeah, you can imagine that because you're imagining it behind a gated community. And the second he stepped out of that gated community, one of his own people got it. But even that is culture. When we were not allowed to marry each other, to the point when you talked about traditions, we jumped the broom as a symbol to each other and everybody on the plantation or the property, because all slaves weren't on plantation.
That was slavery. They would marry in private, or they would have a relationship, but it's just a marriage. They would just secretly do it. We always disobeyed. We always wanted to live our enjoy happiness. We always were chasing our happiness. We always disobeyed. We were marrying in the secret, and that's true. Not all slave was on a plantation. It was just slave town. It was just black towns too. One down black town. It was some black towns too. You feel me? That's just true.
That this person is my person. I jumped the broom to this day.
I'm big and crazy.
I jumped the broom with my wife.
Like right.
That's a part of who we are. That is unique to us. No, we don't have a language, and I'm not going to rehash what I've already said, but we have to have a different level of understanding of what has happened, what continues.
We do got a language, but he can speak more of a more standard version of English. Him himself. Ain't nothing wrong with it because he's still a full-blooded black American. He just speak more of a standard version of English. Most black people speak AAVE Ebonics version of English. Then I bet the dudes he sent down probably speak more Ebonic version than versions than him. I speak more Ebonics. If y'all keep watching my videos, you can realize the way I speak more of a black way of talking.
Used to happen, and how there is a global conspiracy, whether we choose to understand it or not, to keep all of us separate. Having said that, there are things that happen in Haiti because of what Bill Clinton did when he was president and afterwards. There are things that happen in Jamaica that happen because of the British Crown, right? We all have our different cultural battles to fight, but we're all still black. However, me saying that I have to take care of my two daughters does not mean that I don't care about every other black woman on the face of the planet. They are my immediate responsibility as a foundational black American. Sure. My immediate responsibility is to foundational black Americans first, not saying foundational black Americans first and F everybody else.
I know what the foundational black American word is. I consider myself that too, if that's based on the definition. I consider myself a Pan-African niggas, Africanist too, if y'all want that too. But I understand that it's a culture, and Black America got a culture. And I understand Haiti got a culture. I understand Jamaica got a culture. I understand Nigerians got a culture. I understand Black Americans got a Pacific culture. I understand Haitians got a Pacific culture. I understand Jamaicans got a Pacific culture. Black Americans got their Pacific culture, and their Pacific fight is with the United States of America, because that's where we was, and that's where our slavery was. Haiti got a Pacific fight, and that fight was with the French, because that's who they Pacific slave people was. Do you get what I'm saying? But we all is the same. We all black people for sure, but we all got different motherfuckers we barking at based off the history we had. We understand that we not saying fuck other race, fuck every other group of black people. No, we just understand that we got our own Pacific culture. And black culture, we just cherish. Obviously, we gonna cherish the culture that we had for the last 500 years, 500 some years. You feel me? And that's the culture that we know. And that's the culture that we created. So bro, yeah, we got a culture, bro. And yes, we want to cherish the culture. And you can't be like, you can't be like, because I seen videos of people like how you would dress like a Black American, but go home and say I'm Nigerian, throw Nigerian clothes on. I can't do that. You feel me? I'm Black American outside, inside, at my house, outside, in the street. Like, I'm forever gonna be that, because that's all I know. And that's a specific culture that I grew up in. I can't switch that around. And I can't go to Nigeria and throw Nigerian clothes on and call myself Nigerian. They can say, no, you still American. You just live in America. You just live in Nigeria. You still American. You a Black American. You just live in Nigeria. You just got our clothes on. Living in our culture. We understand that you still American. You just living in our culture. But when y'all come to America, I already seen people videos when I come to America. It's not no. We all black. We all black. This our culture. No, this our culture that we created within America. Because if you go to Haiti, they got a culture they created within Haiti because they was enslaved too. They was enslaved too. So they had to make a language and make a culture too. Same with the Jamaicans. Same with the Brazilians. When they brought all the Brazilian, the native people, and they brought the African slaves, so they had to make a culture too. Everybody in the Americas had to make a culture based on, because even when the Spaniards came over, the Latinos had to involve and make a new culture too within the language of Spanish. Everybody did that within the Americas. Even with the Europeans come over, they not Europeans no more, they Americans. They got their own white American culture too. They had to make a new American culture too. And they got different dialects within the American English. They got the Southern redneck dialect. They got the white girl from California, white person from New York, white person from Florida, white person from Alabama. They got the black person from New York, black person from Florida, black person from Texas. We all got a dialect. We all speak English, but we all got different dialects of English. And within the black culture, that specific group of people, their specific dialect of English is called AAVE, Ebonics. That's the shit, man. You gotta tell it to the nigga what it is, man. You feel me?
I'm saying foundational Black Americans first because we're the ones that are bleeding, and everybody has benefited from our blood, whether they choose to admit it or not. The 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment do not happen with us. Civil rights does not happen with us. These very loose, very fun immigration laws that folks are now playing and screwing all of us throughout the diaspora.
Immigration don't impact Black Americans. That's the thing. Immigration, because we can't get deported. How was this native and how we came on a boat? We been here, literally been here since the start of America. That's like people. That's like Australia deporting the Black Australians to where, nigga? That's their native place. That's like you know what I'm saying. That's like Australia trying to. That's like New Zealand deporting the native New Zealanders to where? Nigga, they was already there. Where'd you go to put them to? You got to pick somewhere to park and pick them back and throw them at. Even we'll say, boom, y'all still came from Africa. We ain't going back to Africa in like 400 or 500 years. And not only that, Africa had their own shit going on with the Europeans that mixed up their shit too. So not only that, Africa got mixed up. We got taken away for 500 years and did our own thing. So now what the fuck? We for sure don't know fucking where we at in Africa. What the fuck? Be real though. Tell them how it is.
Or here in the Americas, does not happen without foundational Black Americans, and so all of those things are extremely important to that conversation.
So, what would be your definition? My fault. What would be your definition of culture? Frank gave his definition of culture. What is your definition of culture?
My definition of culture is traditions, it's style, it's certain taboos. And taboos don't have to be a big, huge thing. Bring raisins in a potato salad to a family reunion. Watch what happens to you, right? Or if we're going to talk about taboos that still happen but are still considered taboo, bring home a white girl. See what happens. You at bare minimum are getting talked about.
Not saying that man. Black culture is I ain't gonna lie. I'm gonna tell you the good and the bad. We got gang banging culture in our community. We got rap music. We had pimping. We had black excellent culture when you improving in fighting for civil rights culture. We had that. We got dancing, R&B, the way we dress, the way we talk, the way we had get our tattoos, the way we wear grills, our styles. The way different dialects depending on what country, not country, what state you're from, what city you're from. There was so many different things. Like, come on, bro. The things we invented, the sports culture. Our culture coincide with American culture. Obviously, it does. But even white Americans can tell you, Black people got their own way of doing things within America. Even a white person will tell you this shit. Yeah, Black people got their own way of dressing, their own way of talking, their own way of acting, their own way of decorating their house, their own way of whatever, their own way of picking Black people pick their certain cars. They drive certain cars. They buy certain things.
even white people in America can tell you that they do certain things. They got their own way of living. They got their own culture. Everybody, come on, bro. It's like, bro, come on, everybody. It's like common sense, bro.
There's not an OJ, not saying that, you know, the majority of professional athletes, entertainers, those types of people who get to a certain level don't still do that, but it's taboo. Curse while the pastor is talking during his sermon. Those are all taboos.
Nigga, that's not taboo, nigga. That's nigga cuss. Go to a white church and do that. You feel me? What for calling? That's my bullshit. I'll be right back. Cigarettes, I'm gonna die. I'm sorry, I'm gonna stop smoking one day. I've been smoking for the last like 4 months, 5 months. So, but yeah. Oh, my bad, man. Hold on. Let me get back on my gangster shit. Oh, how I'm looking. Okay, but yeah, as I was saying, go cuss in the Muslim church, go cuss in the Christian church of any religion, of any race. That's just something you just don't do, no matter what religion. That's not something taboo. That's not just a black thing. That's just any religion right there. But yeah, we probably got a certain way of how we will react to it within. That's the cultural thing. Culturally, if you go cuss in the what's a European church, they gonna grab your motherfucking ear and fucking whatever, ground your ass. Culturally, if you slap and you cuss in the black church, they gonna slap the shit out your ass and bop you on your head. Say stop that. We don't do that. Respect where you at. Culturally, if you go cuss in the Muslim whatever church, they go whoop the woo whatever. Y'all, no religion go want you want to cuss in the church, but culturally, how they react to it is culturally. You feel me?
Right? Walking on the inside of the street as opposed to the outside of the street. I was raised, but again, my grandfather was born in, I think, 1890, and my grandmother was born in 1904. So my dad was born in 35. So I got a different worldview than a lot of people my age. But there's certain things you don't do. You don't hit a woman. Like there's certain things that aren't necessarily only unique to us, but there are certain things that over time we have built that make up our culture beyond just language. Spirituality was robbed from us, language was robbed from us. And yes, even with that, with the example Frank gave, and I'll lay my plane on this. Yeah, when you go to school, they got to teach a certain way. Even when you go, I got a cousin that lives in Osaka, Japan, and she teaches English as a second language to Japanese businessmen because they want to come over here. You understand what I'm saying to you? But you have to have a baseline language. But the difference is you're choosing to go to school versus being forced, whipped, chained, bred like cattle, and had anything cultural taken from you. Even the ability to name your child wasn't up to you.
That's true.
My last name didn't come from the continent. My last name comes from the Anderson slave owners of South Carolina. I know exactly what plantation my ancestors come from. Can't tell you the boat, though.
I want to ask, so where did you get your definition of culture?
Well, my background is mass comm journalism. And if you do advanced mass comm journalism, of course, you're going to do multicultural understanding. And in the study of multicultural differences in understanding, of course, you study how languages were developed, what it meant for people, and so on and so forth. And it's the first thing that allows you to understand how to interact when you move from one place to go to another place. So through that,
you look at the people,
and then of course my column for 13 years was life and culture. I didn't report on politics, economics, or wars. I reported on life and culture. It allowed me to study, and I realized, how would I know? I began to compare it, to where I'm coming from. And I said, something went wrong. I would give me just a little bit to explain something. You know where my interest as a black man became piqued after traveling the world when I began to hear the slogans we create, the narratives we create. Okay? I was speaking in Kenya on a university campus. One young man got up and told me how I missed the point about why Kenya is the way it is, and blamed the white man who came to take their culture and stop them from speaking their local languages and gave us Christianity. Oh, he went down the laundry list of things that happened to them, and it's still happening. So I said, wow, you are a brilliant man. I've never met anyone who have made this list, but I have only one question. Why did it work? And that is what we refuse to ask ourselves. So we always say that they did this to us, they did this to us. But we never ask ourselves, why did it work?
Nigga, they beat us, separated us, made us go against each other, made laws could make it hard to support each other, made it beneficial to break up each other, and beat us 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 until you pay attention. That's how it works.
See, I've been to the Caribbean. I've been to many cities in the United States. I've lived in the UK.
It's like you got somebody in an abusive relationship, you can't get beat on and shit, and keep the person mentally weak, and they stay around. That's how that works. You know what I'm saying?
I've seen blacks in the UK. I've seen black in China. I've seen blacks in almost every corner of the world. And I've seen blacks in America and on the continent. And everything we are describing is uniform about us. You really think that the largest number of people on earth in terms of countries, 54 in one continent, about 10 or 13 in the Caribbean, black groups in the UK, in China, in America, and we are all suffering that psychological warfare and responding to it for years? Nothing in the world, use any probability, has ever tossed a coin and it fell on its head 9 times out of 10. Impossible. We need to re-examine us as black people. What is it? And it's nothing we are saying. Because if it is true, then there's something really wrong first with us. Let me tell you something.
And we a nice group of people, never retaliated. We too damn nice. That's what it was. There's another reason. It worked, plus tribal mindset. We looked at each other as different. Like Europeans look at each other as different. Like Hispanics look at each other as different. Like Asians look at each other as different. We looked at each other as different. You say you was black, well, you was a different tribe. These helping me beat the other tribe. You know what I'm saying? The Russians and Ukrainians, they both Europeans. The Ukraine, they helping China, whatever the other Asian countries helping the European Russians beat the European Ukrainians. They don't see they're the same fucking overall race of people, but they different people as a culture, as whatever. I ain't vivid in detail in the history of it, but like, bro, it's like we that's how they beat us.
Korea, nobody. It's a miracle that Korea is what it is today. It is the only country in the world, or in Asia, let me just speak, that has never waged war. They call them Pakachong, inferior, by the Japanese, but Mongolians, Chinese.
He said Korea. Hell, the one place you could probably say don't got a culture is North Korea. If hell, that's the damn argument you want to make it about North Korea. No bullshit.
They were bullied and they were invaded, colonized, tortured for hundreds of years. Why didn't it work on them?
You telling me North Korea got a detailed culture, bro? You telling me North Korea got a detailed culture, bro? He talking about South Korea. I'm talking about the North one. I know what you talking about. Of course, South Korea got a culture. They freed to make one. They made one. They got the freedom to even make one. The North Koreans ain't got the freedom to even make a culture. Nigga, they under suppression all the time. What are you talking about? That shit crazy.
The Jews went into slavery, the globe, 4,000 years in the diaspora. In Egypt, in Baghdad, which was formerly Babylon. When they were in Europe, what was the name the Aryan race through the Nazi organization said they were? Jews are inferior. It's what they said over and again to German kids.
He said, remember this. I always pay attention. The Jewish people didn't have a damn country until after World War II. So the fact he said the Jewish people had a culture before World War II, aka the Great War of Europe, the Second Great War of Europe, but the fact that he said the Jewish people had a culture before World War II, they didn't have a country though. So that was just like the Black Americans living amongst other countries with their own culture, Catholic cultures and Christian cultures. They were Jewish people living amongst the Christians. Am I wrong? I don't know. Because they didn't have they had a culture, but they didn't have a country. We got a culture, but no country too. What's going on?
When they arrived in America, Sammy Davis had a joke. He said he was getting on the bus in Montgomery. The driver told him to get to the back of the bus. He said, "No, you don't understand. I'm a Jew." He said, "Oh, get off the bus then." In 1977, a black man bought a home in Westport, Connecticut before a Jew. Jews were not allowed to rent or buy a home in Greenwich, in Westport, in Darien. There's a story Donald Trump had to build the first golf course when he became aware that Jews and blacks were not allowed to play in golf courses. Jews had it tough in this country through redlining, where they were not allowed to set up businesses, so they were forced to converge and start loaning to themselves from within. It didn't happen to them for 1,000 years, longer than we were enslaved or colonization. So the question you need to ask is, if they did all these things against us, why did it work? Let me give you one thing to the response I said earlier, why African Americans didn't leave after slavery. Not because there was no place to go to. That is completely a lie.
Yeah, what they
Ask yourself, the Ashantis knew that they were the most powerful tribe in Ghana, followed by the Airways, the Gans, the Chuis, Akwamus, everybody. They knew that they didn't form the country Ghana, that they were forced, okay? But it came to an end. For Ghana, 1957. Why didn't they go back to become the individual tribes they were? Was anybody there telling
why y'all still claiming the countries that they draw up in Europe? What the fuck are you talking about? Y'all still claiming Ghana, y'all still claiming Kenya. Them never draw up country. You just said we are not Kenyans for real, Guyanese for real. We are Uber, we are tribes for real. So why y'all still claiming the country names? Like, what are you talking about?
them you can't? No. Do you know why they stayed as a country?
Why?
They were attracted by the bling the colonial left behind. The roads.
You know why we stay united? Because we was the same way. We stayed together based off the fucking oppression too.
The hospitals, the schools, the post office, the fire department, the buses with air conditioning from London imported to their country, the railway lines, all the beautiful things. Why didn't you live here? It's not because you don't know where to go. It's because you didn't hate the white man and you weren't afraid of him.
I think you're eliminating the fact that we built blood, sweat, tears,
Yes,
deaths.
exactly.
You know, so much. We are the biggest innovators. We built America. Why give up everything we built? America wouldn't exist off the pains and struggles of Black Americans. You don't just give that up. We also, if with asking your question, we
was the biggest money making in the country when this America was a baby. We was the biggest money makers because we worked the fields, we worked so much and built so much. They used our labor just to build so much. They had the idea of America. We was the workers of America. So yes, we played a part in building this country, a major part in building this country. Now even we still play a major part within the culture of the country, the politics of the country, the movements of the country. We still play a major part within the country. And we was here helping build, not helping, enslaving and building the country, building things, building help. They use enslaved people to build their homes. They enslaved people to build pick their crops. They had ideas and they said you go use a slave to build the ideas that we got. That's what was going on.
do also ask, why didn't Africans or other Caribbean people or other nations join us and make us a bigger nation in America? We built it. Everything came off our death. And every time we created something big, it was destroyed, burned down.
Like where?
What are you talking about?
Oh,
Look,
wait. I got this one. Don't worry. Wilmington, North Carolina, Eatonville, Rosewood, Tulsa, Philadelphia,
Literally.
Chester, Pennsylvania, Wilmington, North Carolina,
Black
Beaufort,
Wall
South
Street
Carolina,
in Jersey.
Yeah.
Fort Worth.
You know, there were plenty of places. Anytime we had any infrastructure, two things happened. They decided to integrate it. Look at have you been to Central Park?
Mhm.
You know what Central
That
Park
was a
is,
black
right?
town. There used to be a black town. They destroyed the black town to build a park. That's true.
It's a park.
No, it's not. Central Park was actually a place called Seneca Village. It was when freed black people decided to converge in one area, and they decided to redistrict that area, even though they owned the land and the houses that they built free and clear, and they destroyed
And plus,
those.
that's how he got hard on. They pushed all the black people to the top of the island and made all the white people move to Manhattan part of the island. That's how he got hard on too. They wanted the barrier between them. Come on, gang. You got to know the history.
People displaced those people and built a park around it. There's an old song Joni Mitchell sang, said, "Don't it always seem to go this? You don't know what you got till it's gone." They paved paradise and put up a parking lot. They paved paradise and put up Seneca Village. In Georgia, just outside of Atlanta, there's a place called Lake Lanier. It used to be a thriving black town. They decided to kill the black folks, get rid of the ones they couldn't kill, and then people right now are boating on it every weekend. That's what happened.
They did flood some black towns. There's some. If you go to bottom of certain lakes in America, you can't find black old black towns. It is true.
Happened to us. That's what got destroyed. And it doesn't mean that we don't keep building, but after a while, even if you look at the flea experiment, you familiar with the flea experiment?
The what?
The flea experiment.
No.
So the flea experiment goes like this. You take a bunch of fleas, you put them in a jar, you put the top on the jar, and you put holes in the top of the jar. After a while, the fleas will stop at the top of the jar because they get tired of smacking up against the top of the jar. Now, because you have conditioned the fleas that they're not going to go above the top of the jar, you take the top of the jar off and you never have to worry about them jumping out of the jar because they don't think there's anything above the jar. So if you have been killed, bombed, drowned, thrown out, redistrict, redlined, yeah, those are historical facts. I got time. We can Google it.
Sure,
but that's that's the part.
They just don't care about the American struggle of slavery because they had their own struggle in Africa, bro. They just don't. It just don't benefit them in America to talk about American slavery because they came to America for a better life. So why the fuck will I come to America for a better life just to talk about Black American slavery? Why did that benefit me as an African? Let's just be real.
No, I expect.
No.
On all the things he has listed.
I'm just saying we shouldn't just talk about leaving.
I will
and we
respond.
built that.
Yes, I will respond to you. I'm no expert on all the things he has listed.
If
I have
Africans came to America talking about Black American slavery, they're gonna say go back to Africa. They're gonna kick them out the country, and they know that. So what's the point of coming to America just to speak on Black American slavery? That's not gonna benefit me. I came for a better life. We had our own. We had oppression in my own homeland. So I'm coming to over here just to talk about their oppression. Let's be real.
read about them. But you see, every time I read something or I encounter a story, my mind works in that way because I'm an critical thinker. All right. I have also known societies in.
Cause it's like an hour long. I'm gonna go ahead and pause it at that whole sizzle. I'm gonna just keep racking. I'm gonna make another video. All right, man. It's your boy, Big Edge Go the Greatest, coming back with part 2. It's your boy, bang. I'm out.